So we're really excited about it. That's where we are. Those are some announcements to give you some quick updates. Let's talk virtual grand openings. VGOs, right? VGOs. These are good things. VGO. If you're unfamiliar with what a virtual grand opening is, well, just think of it as a grand opening that any business would have, but it's done virtually. It allows you to, because we don't have any really brick or mortar. I mean, we have a corporate office, but that's our whole business is basically virtual when you think about it. So having virtual grand openings is a key, one of the keys that many people are having toward massive success with this business. And I highly recommend it. I do them all the time with people, and I help people do them. And you should help your teams do it if you're building teams. And if you're not building a team, or you're looking to start building a team, I should say, you should also get in touch with your sponsor, get in touch with your sponsor's sponsor, get in touch with the leaders that you're working with, and ask them to do a virtual grand opening for you. All right, so let's talk. What is, specifically a virtual grand opening? Well, the objective is to maximize the number of eyeballs and exposures, because we all know that that your income in this business is in direct correlation, is in direct you know ratio to the number of times that you and your team show this plan to people. And so you can maximize the number of people that take a look at it using virtual grand openings. You can feed attendees who virtually attend your Zoom grand opening, or your, whatever, Facebook, whatever you want to do, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Teams, whether it's Google Meet, whether it's Zoom, whatever it is. You can feed people into local in-person meetings as well from these events. So it definitely creates fast duplication. That's one of the objectives here. And then to build multiple states simultaneously, that's another objective. A lot of times I see advisors pigeonholing themselves and backing themselves into a corner by only building in one market. And if you want to have a really robust business that takes advantage of all of the things that are happening, because each state is different, each territory is different, there's going to be explosions going on in certain areas and promotions, just like we just showed you. Right now, Maryland, DC, and Massachusetts have incredible promotions going on in those markets, because we have a specific need in that market to fill a lot of community solar in those markets very quickly. So hence the promotions. This will also maximize your time. Virtual grand openings absolutely will maximize your time. They'll give you the most bang for your buck right out of the gate with your time commitment. Now you want to be doing other things too, but by adding a virtual grand opening will maximize your time. So this is what I want you to key in on when you're thinking about a virtual grand opening. You're looking to find people who know people in these states that are shaded in green. Look, we know we're going to be open in all these states by the end of the year, roughly. And we might even be open in some more states before the end of the year. Hint, hint. No secrets, but hint, hint. Just keep that in mind. But yeah, you want to find people who live in these markets, who are in these markets, or lived in these markets, or have contacts in these markets. And when I think about this, it's like, how do you do that? Well, you know what? You ask everybody everywhere that do you know people in these markets? So I think the entire country is on the map here for virtual grand openings, because you could literally ask someone in Idaho, where we're not even open, right? Nothing going on there as far as Think Plus services yet. But you could ask somebody in Idaho, do you know anybody in California? Do you know anybody in Oregon? Do you know anybody in Colorado or New Mexico or Minnesota? These are all states where we're either open or going to be open very quickly. So really, the entire country is on the table here, because you can ask someone in Idaho, and if they say, yeah, I know some people in New York, they're a candidate to be on your virtual grand opening. Why wouldn't they be? Okay, so I would say the only people who you probably might not have on your virtual grand opening is somebody that you asked, do you know anybody in any of these states? And they say, nope, I don't know anybody in any of those states. Okay, that's probably not a good prospect anyway, because they're either lying or they're not paying attention to the question, or they just been hiding under a rock somewhere for their entire life and they don't know someone, they don't know people in 20 states. I mean, it's rare that you come across that. So just move on right to the next person. So why would you want to do a virtual grand opening? Because every business has a grand opening or a grand reopening. They all do. So why wouldn't you do that for your business to announce to the public, I'm open for business and I have a way to help people. So have a grand opening, get it out there, banners, streamers, digitally get it out there. It takes a lot less time and less preparation than doing a regular grand opening at your home or at your business, or at a meeting place. It takes less time and less preparation. It doesn't require your prospects, your attendees to travel. They just hop onto a Zoom meeting with you. And it doesn't require a nice location either. You don't have to prepare your home or your office or rent out a location to find a place to have a grand opening. You just need a device with internet access. And look, anyone can host this thing because it doesn't matter where they live. So I don't care where you live. We have people, I just did a grand opening for someone who lives in Hawaii. We're not open there yet either. Okay, but the person in Hawaii had people from all over the country attending their event, including people who didn't live in our markets, but knew people in the markets where we operate. So anyone can attend, right? It doesn't matter where they live either. So you can host it. It doesn't matter where you live, and anyone can attend. It doesn't matter where they live. And it allows you to do this, which is what I was just talking about a moment ago. Too many people, they confine themselves to building in their local market only, and they don't think nationally. Okay. This allows you to focus locally, okay, and build nationally at the same time. Like build locally and build nationally. That's what a virtual grand opening does, because it allows you to reach out to people in multiple time zones and get everybody together all at once. So how do you do a virtual grand opening? Well, the first thing is ask someone to be your special guest. Could you do it yourself? Yeah. But why wouldn't you have someone who's more successful than you, or has been doing this longer than you, or has a bigger team than you do? Or just the fact that, to have another person on your Zoom with you to promote those people is effective. So set a time or a date. I recommend multiple. Like I recommend doing like, okay, let's do a Tuesday and a Thursday, or a Monday and a Wednesday. I like the weeknights; those are good. But there's other times. It depends on the people you're looking to capture and talk to. And sometimes I've had people do grand openings during the day in the middle of the week, and that's fine because there's a lot of people who work second shift or want to hop on their lunch break, and that's fine. There's other people that like to have them on a Saturday morning or a Saturday afternoon or a Saturday evening or a Sunday afternoon or a Sunday evening, or even a Friday evening. I just did one on a Friday evening this past week. And I always sit there and think, I'm not sure how it's going to go on a Friday evening, because it gives you less maybe opportunity than getting people on a Thursday evening, because people like to go out on Friday nights. But you know what? We did the grand opening. A bunch of people came on to the grand opening, and there was somebody on that grand opening that got really excited, and he had a grand opening for his own business and brought some people onto the Zoom last night. And now he's got a whole bunch of advisors and lots of activity, and they all do. And that's what's going on. So these virtual events, setting up a date and time, I recommend multiple. Create a little digital invite, something that you can send to them. Put it into your Think Plus Connect app so that when you send it to them, they know if they clicked on it or not. Maybe you set up an invite on Evite. Maybe you set up something on Eventbrite. Whatever it is, you have lots of different tools to utilize that and invite people. And then invite people. Invite them via phone. Call them up. Invite them via text. Remind them, email them, go on to social media platforms. Maybe you send something out regular mail if you want to. I don't know, whatever you want to do. It would be worth it to put a stamp on an invite and send it to someone. It would be, in my opinion, because they'll be more likely to attend. You have handouts. You can use an online event site. You want to promote your special guest, promote the special guest that's with you, and then follow up with reminders. Like maybe it's like a couple days before. So when I like to set a time and a date, I say, let's set up a time and a day for next week. Let's set it up for like 7 days out to give you time to prepare people, to give them time to put it into their calendar, give them a little bit of notice. Can you do it, the next day? Sure. But a lot of people already have plans the next day. Maybe can you do it 2 days later or 3 days later? Sure. But you're always going to have a little bit more, a little bit more on the calendar side for people of availability if you give it a little bit of time. Now, I wouldn't do it like, oh, let me do it a month away. No, that's like too long. Why wait that long? But follow up with people maybe a couple days before, 24 hours before, and maybe even 15 minutes before, because it's just a Zoom event. It's just a Zoom link. I like to do that. I like to set up the auto reminders in advance so I'm not sitting there 15 minutes before texting everybody. I just go in and set up the text reminder, set up the email reminder. You can set them up for future. You can set a future time for that email or that text to be delivered. And I prefer text because that's what everyone responds to. So set up those reminders to go out a day before, 24 hours before, 15 minutes before. And then welcome everybody onto the call. Tell everyone your reason why that you started your business, why you're so excited about it in 2 minutes or less. 2 minutes or less. And if you think it's taking you 2 minutes, it's probably taking you 4. So I like to think, okay, I have a minute, but you want to keep it under 2 minutes, then turn it over to your special guest who will do the presentation if you haven't done it before, and do the call to action at the end, and then open it up for Q&A. All right. And they might bring you back in at the end, right, to tell a little bit more about why you're so excited. Maybe they'll have some other people on the call, like we did the other night, where some other people came on the call that were already part of the business and had already been successful. And so we had them tell some stories to the prospects that were on. And that's how it works. And so here's the thing about this. If you use this pattern, right? So maybe you do a grand opening, right? And then you welcome everyone and tell your reason why and turn it over to your special guest. And then on the second night, maybe maybe you want to take a few of the slides at the beginning of the presentation and tell them a little bit about the company, maybe about the service, and then turn it over to your special guest who will do the money part of the presentation, plus the call to action and the Q&A. And then you can get yourself, your feet wet so that you can then go and do it for other people to the point where when you're comfortable to do the presentation, then you can do it. And now you don't have to do the presentation. There's plenty of leaders who do. You don't have to be a presenter. I'm just giving you an example that that's something that you can duplicate and replicate throughout your team so that you're building leaders as you go. And maybe you have some raffles or giveaways for your attendees. Make it fun for people. Hey, if you're on, as long as you're on, I'm going to have a raffle. And you do a simple giveaway. It doesn't have to be anything major. It could be something simple. It could be like a $5, gift card, $10 gift card, or $20 gift card, or something like that. It could be very simple. So have that. And then that's a virtual grand opening, kind of the mechanics that go into it. And then it's all just about the follow-up. The fortune is in the follow-up. Your leader is there. Your special guest is there to answer questions. And then it becomes great. If they're ready to get started, they'll sign up. If they're not ready to get started, then it's follow-up. That's where we are. So a lot of the questions will get answered right there, but sometimes we need an offline. Okay, you need an offline, not public Q&A. So the public Q&A is good at the end, but I'm telling you, getting individuals after that call onto three-way calls with you, your and other leaders, or the person who is on the call with you, to allow them to individually ask questions that they wouldn't have asked publicly, right? So, I'm not sure how many people on a virtual grand opening are going to say publicly on a Q&A, well, my spouse won't let me do it. Or I'm not really confident that I have the ability to do this, right? There's questions that people will come up with that they won't ask publicly, but they will when you follow up with them. And so the fortune is in the follow-up. Now, you'll do very well in the grand opening if you do the steps that we just talked about. You'll do very well, and you'll have a whole bunch of people join. You'll have those A types that are ready to go right now, and they'll join your team. But you also want to get the people aboard